Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nipsey coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today on the channel. So I wanted to talk about a couple of gems on how to get upfront, mainstream, right in your face, but not harsh, not annoying, upfront lead vocal. So let's get right into it today. Let's not waste no time. Let's get on the grind. Let's see everybody shine. If you guys do like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and drop more video suggestions down below. So here we go. Let's get to listening to the music right now. Let's go.
Sexual, that's spiritual, get at you conversation. Me pone duro esperando tu mensaje. Acuéstate para que descanses con un masaje. Escápate conmigo esta noche, girl, use me. Apriétame, no flojes tus paredes, don't lose me. Duérmete y te despierto con mi lengua. Probarte de atrás adelante hasta que vengas.
Okay, so you guys got a general idea of the type of music that we're working here today. Shout out to the artist. I'm gonna drop his link down below as well. Really dope artist. He came through with a great song that I loved a lot. A lot of smoothness, but a lot of the times when people are rapping very smooth, very calm, maybe they're not being too upfront. Maybe they're being a little bit mellow, especially with a vocal like this. Somebody who is mellow is usually somebody who think is cool, laid back. They chill. You feel me? They're like some ice. They're really frozen. They really chill. They're really vibing. They're really, not doing too much. You feel me? So sometimes when somebody gives a delivery like this where it's very relaxed, you still want it to be articulate. You still want it to be heard. Here's a couple of great methods and great techniques to use to get very upfront vocals. So it kind of comes down to something like what makes a human ear think something is up front. Usually it's the nuances, the proximity. When somebody gets close to you, you can start to hear a little bit, you can start to hear the movements of their mouth. You can start to hear the spitting, the saliva. You can start to hear their teeth banging into each other, their tongue smacking a little bit. So a great way that I like to bring in a vocal to sound up front is to trick the human ear to hear some of those things. Of course, we don't want the vocals to be upfront and obnoxious like your little brother when he wants a piece of candy. We still want it to be, musical in a sense, upfront but musical. So a great way I love to do that is using something like a Fairchild. I like to use Fairchilds in different ways, and here's a way I love to use it in parallel, right? So with the Fairchild, of course, we understand that it has tubes in it. So the tubes have a very musical way of working in the mid-range. It brings the mid-range forward by adding a little bit of saturation and also smoothens out the top end a little bit, brings a little bit of shimmer. And sometimes those high-end frequencies is what make you perceive stuff as upfront.
Sexual, that's spiritual, get at you conversation. Me pone duro esperando tu mensaje. Acuéstate para que descanses con un masaje. Escápate conmigo esta noche, girl, use me. Apriétame, no flojes tus paredes, don't lose me. Duérmete y te despierto con mi lengua. Probarte de atrás adelante hasta que vengas. Sexual, that's spiritual, get at you. You calling him, no answer. A text with no reply. He ignores you, takes you for granted. I hear you.
So rather than just actually boosting up the volume of the vocal, I like to maybe use something like the Fairchild on parallel and push the input gain a lot, because that input gain is starting to generate a little bit of distortion. It's adding a little bit of those harmonics, a little bit of those overtones in the high end that starts to make it a little bit more obvious of what's going on. For example, if you was out in the forest and you could not see absolutely anything, your human ear uses the nuances of, for example, if you're in the forest, you start to hear the leaves start to ruffle a little bit. So you're like, okay, I'm in a forest, and depending on how high the tree is, that's going to determine like the volume of how the leaves are ruffling. If you kind of hear something, a little bit far off in the distance, which is literally like lower volume, then you might be like, oh man, that tree might be 10 foot tall and the leaves are all the way on the top. So it's all about, giving a little bit of that distortion. That's something that your ear is already used to, accustomed through natural evolution type shit like that. While we was in the jungle, Fred Flintstone, boom, 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 in them caves and all that stuff like that, our ears started to adapt to stuff like that. Fairchild, I like to use it again, but even on my master fader is a way I can bring my vocals forward. What do you mean by that, Nick? Maybe you want to use a bus compressor that is going to push the mid-range forward. Now, API 2500 is like that. The Fairchild is like that. There's a couple of other, maybe even like a Manley, Veramute sometimes too, like any type of tube compressor. There's also other types of, different compressors, different topologies that will give a little bit of that up forward, mid-range first type of sound. And of course, a bus compressor is literally squeezing your mix together. That's why people say it's glued. If you want to like have something stick to the wall, sometimes you want to glue that bit onto it so it stays onto the wall. But what you got to do is you got to squeeze it onto the wall. You feel me? So it's the same shit. You feel me? So I like to use this knob, this threshold knob here, and listen to how the vocal starts to come a little bit more forward as I introduce the compression circuit.
You calling him, no answer. A text with no reply. He ignores you, takes you for granted. I hear your cries. Ya no llores por ese ignorante. Es un cobarde. Perdido tiempo no puede comprarte. I know you tired of the lies, the excuses. The truth is the love that you giving him, he abuses. Es tu prometido. Y solamente te pido que no recibas a pedido de ese caso perdido. He online flexing to get attention. He thirsting. We offline sex in another session with.
So even though there's 1 dB of compression being applied, which means the mix is actually getting a little bit quieter technically, it actually sounds like everything is getting a little bit louder. This is on the master fader. This is juicing up the beat, the melodies in the beat, adding a little bit of that extra tube distortion. It's starting to bring stuff forward. So that's a great way to help the vocal take a front step. The type of bus compressor you use. API 2500 is another dope way of a bus compressor that can give you that trick. So let's also talk about, when it comes to stuff that you can control, kind of like your microphone, right? So mic modeling plugins is a great way of getting upfront vocals. A lot of these microphone modeling plugins actually have a proximity button. And with the proximity button, it's a situation where it becomes more sensitive to that mid-range. That mid-range tells you how far or how close something is, in the low end too, Usually if you hear like a tiger coming up to you a little bit closer, that tiger and that big size has a lot of a low end frequency because it's a big body thing. It's really fat and really big, low end. You feel me? So something like a UAD sphere, that microphone has a proximity button that will start to help make things start to come a little bit. Now, it's probably sounding too forward or really, really sounding like it's really far. And that's coming to how the frequencies are sensitive. So pay attention to your microphone that you have. Maybe you have a microphone that isn't very sensitive to the mid-range, right? And maybe that's why things are starting to come in flat and feeling weak and feeling frail and feeling like a skeleton, right out the closet with no meat on it, no bones, feeling like it don't got no size and it ain't ate in 300,000 years. Maybe you might want a microphone that is a little bit more sensitive to the mid-range, to the high end, depending on your voice. So if you don't have something like the UAD sphere, well, guess what? I have another alternative for you. You can use the Antares mic modeling. With the Antares mic modeling, you get to control the proximity, and I did use it on this mix. So let's see how I would apply something like this.
You calling him, no answer. A text with no reply. He ignores you, takes you for granted. I hear your cries. Ya no llores por ese ignorante. Es un cobarde. Perdido tiempo no puede comprarte. I know you tired of the lies, the excuses. The truth is the love that you giving him, he abuses. Es tu prometido. Y solamente te pido que no recibas a pedido de ese caso perdido. He online flexing to get.
I love to use this Antares mic modeling plugin because I get access to those microphones that all, like I said, have different sensitivities. I use the U87 Gold because it has something to do with the high mid. It just makes it sound really breathy, but not like a C800 that's too sparkly and too glimmery and too glossy and too, fresh car wash type of sound. I'm not looking for that nice gloss, that nice wax over the front hood. I'm not looking for that with the vocal. I'm just looking for something that's up front. You know what I mean? So Another last thing that I want to show you guys how I achieve upfront vocals is saturation, of course. Like I like to use a plugin like Spectre, right? And with Spectre, it's not an EQ, it's actually doing parallel saturation to wherever you want to apply it to. So a great way I love to use it is I like to locate like kind of where is the fundamental frequency, or where is that character part, where is that anchor, that stick in the ground where I can identify, okay, this is like the vocal character of the artist, of the rapper, right? And I boost that a little bit. So listen to how once I found that, I might just start from scratch real quick, but listen to how when I find that, it helps the vocal cut through and it brings a little bit of forwardness.
You calling him, no answer, a text with no reply. He ignores you, takes you for granted, I hear your cries. Ya no llores por ese ignorante, es un cobarde, perdido tiempo no puede comprarte. I know you tired of the lies, the excuses. The truth is the love that you giving him, he abuses. Es tu prometido y solamente te pido que no recibas a pedido de ese caso perdido. He online flexing to get attention, he thirsting. We offline sex in another session with no protection. Ma yo quiero probarte and my intention is yo poder un día robar. You calling him, no answer, a text with no reply. He ignores you, takes you for granted, I hear your cries. Ya no llores por ese ignorante, es un cobarde, perdido tiempo no puede comprarte. I know you tired of the lies, the excuses, the truth is the love.
Doing a little bit of that saturation right there in that high mid helps to start to bring in those nuances, starts to bring in a little bit of the character of his vocal. You see, I'm like a doctor, with a little stethoscope trying to look for where the heartbeat of his vocal is at. I'm kind of like somebody who's at the beach with one of those little metal detectors looking inside the sand, trying to find the treasure of his vocal so I can make it pop out a little bit more. So, that also makes it a little bit more glitzy, a little bit more glamorous. You feel me? Like, makes it sound really pro without the harshness around that nasty little pointing, chalkboard, scratching the wall type of sound that boosting EQ will give you. So, that's pretty much all the techniques that I have here for today. Y'all boys, this is pretty much the end of the video. I just want to say thank you very much for being a great part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, all right? If you got more video suggestions, drop it down below. I'm more than happy to get to it. Appreciate you now, YouTube. Peace.